Hello, and welcome to Why Wait Till Sunday. On an under-recruited episode, we are going to go over the 3-star receivers that I like the most in the 247 composite ranking. So these are guys that, they're going to still be relevant in big C2C leagues, deep C2C leagues, even in startups as you get way on down into those, 40-plus round startups. Also, freshman only drafts, depending on how deep those go. For devy purposes, you'd have to be in a pretty long, deep devy league. Obviously, for Dynasty, this is 2024, pretty far out. But here's the thing. No matter what format you are playing in, even in Dynasty, it's helpful to know who is the 2024 guys coming in that could pop right away. We just saw Kayshon Boutte. We just saw Marvin Mims, who is fairly under-recruited, even though he wound up at Oklahoma. We saw Deuce Vaughn, a 3-star guy, shoot up in value after just 1 year. So guys that could pop, it's still worth knowing their names. I was on the Clubhouse today with Matt Hicks, the FF educator, and we were just kind of talking about, devy and how to get into it for people who maybe aren't super familiar. But one thing he said that I have been trying to basically say for a while now that, he articulated really well was you kind of want to know these names. You want to be comfortable with these names so that when they pop, you can act on it very quickly. It's human nature. The first time you hear about a player, you're going to be a little skeptical. You're going to say, well, is he really that good? Is this fluky? Whatever. But if you've already built up in your mind what kind of player they are, and then once they're showing it, you have no doubt, this is what I saw, this is what I expected. And you can act on it. You can acquire them. You can draft them. You can go out on a limb in your devy league and take the guy who was a 3-star just a year ago, but you already liked him. Then he popped. Boom. Now, this is how you get an edge. So regardless of what format you're playing in, I suggest this is a good thing for you to listen to, but certainly most immediately relevant in Campus to Canton leagues. And of course, I'm a co-founder of CampusToCanton.com. The first website that is dedicated to the deep format of Campus to Canton. So naturally, this is something that I'm very interested in. If you haven't already been to campus2canton.com, that's CAMPUS 2 campus2canton.com. Go there, check it out. We've got tons of stuff, that's always coming out. This video, of course, is going to be on there. There's going to be an article accompanying it. We've got a league finder. So these are hard to find leagues because it still is kind of niche. But if you're interested, a guy on the Clubhouse today was just saying, how do I get in a C2C league? Go to our classifieds, essentially, where people are saying that they want to get in a league or have a league opening, and we can play matchmaker there. We've got a data app where you can visualize, what Kayshon Boutte just did versus what Julio Jones did. You can put them on the same graph and look at things, year out of high school and watch progression of these players who are still in college. And some apps with some visualization on the data have that for NFL players, but no one has it, including all current college players. And that is something that really sets us apart. I play around with that on a daily basis. You'll see me tweeting out graphs from that app. And that is something exclusively on CampusToCanton.com. That's enough of that from my sponsor. But we're going to get into the top 10 3-star receivers on the 247 composite rankings. And away we go. I'm going to have to share my screen here as we do. So if you are listening to this on podcast form, I'm thrilled. I hope you're enjoying it. But if you feel like you want to see what these players look like on the screen, go to the YouTube channel where we have this in video form. And I cut up some clips of these young guys so you can take a look for yourself. First on the list, I'm actually going to go through 11 guys because this guy, Monray Baldwin, I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't quite put him in the top 10. This is a guy going to Baylor. He's 5'9", 160 pounds. Baylor is his only FBS offer. They offered him late in the cycle. Not many people know a whole lot about him. In fact, I apparently when Baylor offered this kid, he did not even have a 247 profile, that's how off the map he was. Rivals has him as a 2-star. And, it makes sense with Baylor being his only real offer. Now, what I like about this guy is not his size. He's 5'9", 160 listed. So he's going to need to put on weight. Maybe he'll grow an inch if we're lucky. He did not have any other offers. However, he did run a verified on track 10.66 100 meter dash. Now that equates to roughly a 4.4. So this guy's got verified 4.4 track speed. You can see it on the tape. He did pop for me even before I looked at his track time. I said, this kid, I figured a 5'9", 160-pound receiver, no matter what the stars were, going to Baylor, he probably was fast. So, I was just kind of intentionally looking at that far down the list, looking at smaller guys, because I think a bigger guy, in the 3 stars or down that far down is probably going to be slow and lumbering. If he's big and was fast, hard time believing he'd be that far down the list. But these smaller guys, I think, can go unnoticed. And you can see this guy. This is Texas. He played in Texas high school football, which, any division is pretty good. I think it was Killarney, or not Killarney, that's in Scotland or something. But anyway, I'm taking too long on this guy because he's not even in the top 10. But basically what you see on the tape is extreme speed, 4.4 verified, type speed in high school. He does have good hands. He's catching with his hands. I've seen numerous examples of him basically catching in stride. And what I look for, a big thing in receivers, is catching and converting the catch into upfield momentum. People can catch the ball and then just kind of come down flat-footed or whatever. What I saw him do numerous times is catch in motion. And, part of has to do with ball placement and stuff, but really snag things out of the air, even using his hands high up, catching the ball, over his head, but always able to catch it and convert it into upfield momentum very quickly. So I actually really like him. Despite, he's almost as no-name as you can get and headed to Baylor, but it is an FBS team. It is a Power 5 team. And let's keep an eye on that guy. He's your super sleeper special, kind of an also honorable mention on the top 10. So then we get into number 10. This is Davis Mallinger from Florida, but going to West Virginia. And a lot of people like Caden Prather for West Virginia. He's a 4-star receiver, kind of that big guy, 6'2", 3", pushing 220 pounds. But when you watch Prather's tape, he's kind of lumbering. He just doesn't look twitchy. That's a huge red flag to me. I don't care how big you are. You've got to be twitchy at the next level. So Davis Mallinger popped for me. He does have a 100-meter time of 10.7, I believe it is, which really is a low 4.5s when you convert that to a 40 time. And he stands 6'1", 176 pounds, so he needs to put on some weight. But anybody who's over 6 feet and can move that fast in the open field is certainly worth my time. And I liked what I saw. He does catch the ball. I've got here on my notes, he's long. He's got a long frame, and this is one over his head, diving into the end zone right there. There's a couple of those on this tape where he's catching the ball, diving over his head. So he seems to have really good hands and a knack for kind of leaping catches, which to me shows really good body control. He can twist and contort in the air and still come down with the ball. And he seems to have some good yak ability. Look at that. It's a hurdle there. And I know that's all the rage for everyone to hurdle people these days, but that's another over-the-shoulder leaping grab right there. So he's not just speed, and he does this move pretty frequently, kind of a jab step that he will do to get around guys. So he seems to have some yards after the catch type ability. Sometimes these taller guys just kind of catch and fall down, or catch and if they're wide open, they can run to the house. But he actually shows some shiftiness and move. That's a nice kind of slant post. I saw a fairly decent variety of routes, and he does have the speed to, at least beat guys at the collegiate level. See, look at that. Look at that little juke step. I mean, that's kind of nice. He's not one dimensional. He's not just speed. He's not just power. He's not even just route running. He kind of does a little of everything. And I was pretty impressed. I mean, for a 3-star guy, again, going to a Power 5 team. Did you see that right there? I mean, he just made another juke on the far sideline. The video is not that great, but you can see that he's making some moves. I mean, he seemed to be kind of like a complete receiver. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. A 3-star guy looks this good, but that's kind of the case with all these guys. These are gems. These are 10 gems that I found, combing through all the 3-stars. I mean, really, I went all the way down until you start getting into guys going to Chattanooga and things like that. So I really liked him. Showed a lot of different stuff. So that's Davis Mallinger, my wide receiver 10. Then we have Keon Coleman. He's going to Michigan State, and he is a physical specimen. He's a basketball player in addition to playing wide receiver. He's 6'4", 200 pounds. Don't really have a track speed on him, but he had some decent offers. 49 offers to be exact, including Auburn, UGA, Ole Miss, among others. So some big time programs. I don't think he's going to play basketball at Michigan State. I could be wrong, but he's certainly going to play football. And he's a long, leaping type wide receiver. Obviously, he plays basketball. He's 6'4". You can see the length on the tape. Pretty smooth route runner. One thing I would say, I didn't see a lot of suddenness in terms of, route running or kind of that quick twitch that you would want to see for creating separation, especially, separation in short area where you don't, you can't get fully up to speed and start using that long stride. I mean, obviously, once he gets way out into the open field, he's a smooth mover and he's got these big long strides at 6'4". So he can certainly get that body moving upfield. And, but the 49 offers, I think they were all for football. I'm not sure if they combined, football and basketball offers, but that's really impressive. I mean, by at least 10 offers or maybe 15 offers, the most of any of these guys. I just have him a little down my list because I didn't see any one thing that really popped for me in terms of, blistering speed or really incredible shiftiness or tools that made me believe he'd be an excellent route runner at the next level. I just didn't see any one thing other than his height, and he is a smooth athlete. We just saw a basketball player, Drake London, be a smooth, big jumbo slot for USC, and he's been successful. So I think we like that for him. And he's from Louisiana, so they did let him get out of the state, but his highlights were very long. But, he's a little down the list for me. He makes the top 10 here, but a little bit lower than maybe some of these other guys for me watching that tape. Next, we have Joshua Burrell going to FSU, and this is the second FSU receiver that I think is sneaky good. Dustin Hill is one of my favorites, and he's a 4-star, so too much prestige for this list. But Burrell is an early enrollee at FSU. On day one of practice, they've already said he, quote unquote, doesn't look like a freshman. And you can tell that here on the tape. I mean, he really looks like a man among boys out here in high school. Leaping over people. He trucks people. Even in that clip right there, like when he gets up from the ground, he just looks like a monster. What I like is he did run an 11-200 meter. Now, that's like a 4.7-ish. But for a guy who's 6'2", 212 to run a 4.7 in high school, I'm pretty impressed. I mean, he could shave a touch off of that. And if, he's refined in some other ways, you're talking about a really interesting prospect. Should he turn out to be a polished wide receiver in addition to just being big and fairly fast. What I saw on this tape, though, he seems to have some tools that could lend itself to the next level. He's tough. He's very physical, so he has the frame, but he definitely uses it to his advantage. We've got a little slant here, and it's not all posting people up. He does create some separation on this tape, and fairly frequently with some route running. Sometimes you see these guys and they really truly are just running downfield and posting people up 40 yards downfield. But, excuse me, he doesn't do that. That's a little toe touch on the sideline there. And he's got really good hands. Here's a nice one on the sideline where he's up high and grabbing the ball with two hands. It looks like he's got really big hands. So, I think in a perfect world, you might be talking about like an Anquan Bolden type, this really big physical receiver who can, throw DBs around and really muscle his way to being like a possession type receiver. Here you can see him, pancake blocking a guy. So he seems to be a good, nice all-around player. He's going to help the offense in multiple ways, and that'll get you on the field at least early if you can block and, they don't feel like they need to take you out on running plays. So, I like this guy. He's a little 3-star, pretty unknown, but that FSU depth chart is just, there is no way to say it other than absolutely wide open, especially at wide receiver. And so that's Joshua Burrell to pair with Dustin Hill as two of my favorite receivers in this whole class going to FSU. So good job, by Norvell up there. JJ Henry's next. He's going to Ole Miss, and I'll be honest, I was interested in looking at his tape because, again, like a little bit like Monray Baldwin, I saw JJ Henry 5'10", 165 going to Ole Miss, and I said, who was like 5'10", 165 when they showed up at Ole Miss was Elijah Moore. So I didn't think a slow, small guy would be going to Ole Miss. I figured if Ole Miss recruited a small guy like this, he probably is blazing. And on the tape, he looks absolutely blazing. There'll be a couple of plays. That's a nice hands grab up over a DB there, but you'll see a couple of plays where he just hits like sonic boom and everybody else is just quicksand and he's just torching a defense. And I did try to find his 100-meter. Excuse me, I've got to stop taping these things so late. But he had, I think it was like over 11 seconds in 100-meter, which, really just does not look like what I'm seeing here. I mean, look at this 90-yard catch and run, pulling away from the DB as he, even gets to the red zone on the other side of the field. I just saw legit track speed out here, and it seems like he, really doesn't have it, at least according to his track records. So that's a little bit strange for me. Because I'm going to trust my eyes here. It's Texas high school football. I mean, even if it's not the absolute best in the country, it's pretty good. And it's better than the worst Texas high school football is better than a lot of high school football in the country. So, this was at least medium competition, and he just smokes, defenses. Granted, that's a kicker trying to catch him there, but he pulls away. And what I want to see is when guys, especially when they get downfield and they get ahead of someone, do they even do more than maintain that advantage? Do they actually pull away? Because to me, that is going to be a nice positive indicator for the next level to actually be able to just increase that gap as you're going downfield. I also saw some pretty good hands, and they use him kind of running into rounds and things like that, jet sweeps and whatnot. So he was a dynamic weapon in high school, and he looked like he had something to me, and he's going to go to Ole Miss, so you gotta like that. So I'm willing to definitely take a chance on this guy. Headed to Ole Miss with what looks to be legitimate speed in his back pocket. This was a nice one too, kind of a shorter route where he catches the ball up high with his hands. I saw that multiple times, being able to catch, not just into, his forearms or whatever, but really catching with his hands. And look at this. I mean, I don't know who he's playing, but he's just ripping off these really big, long runs. And yeah, I like him. I really like him in that slot role for Ole Miss. All right, next on the list is Julian Gray heading to North Carolina State. And he was a guy I circled simply because I did go, down some 100-meter times just to kind of see who had some just requisite speed and athleticism to try to translate to the next level. This kid has a 10.4 on his resume, which that's like, borderline 4.3 type stuff. And it didn't show up quite in his tape. I mean, it's certainly there. He has some long passes that he catches, these long touchdowns. I'm not sure that he has learned quite yet to translate that into, game speed every time, all the time. But that's a nice ball tracking right there. He had to turn around and catch it on the other side of his body. And certainly does have these breakaway, these big breakaway receptions and stuff for his high school team. So he's headed to North Carolina State that, again, like some of these depth charts, I like these, this hyper athleticism going to depth charts, especially for Power 5 depth charts that just there's not much there. So, I mean, I think a guy who can come in and be explosive and, create big plays is going to be welcome in Raleigh. And, that's like a 99-yard catch and run right there. He is an early enrollee, 5'10", 174. You hope to see could put on 15 to 20 pounds, but that should be doable for most folks. He had 12 offers. Duke, Georgia Tech, South Carolina liked him as well. But I'm kind of betting on the verified speed here from the track records, and hoping that he converts that into some more football skills. The tape is good, but yeah, I mean, 4.4 speed does not grow on trees, especially in a decent size. 5'10", 174. If he can get up to 185, 190 and maintain that speed, we got something interesting on our hands. And you'll know if you follow me on Twitter and stuff. I kind of do. Make fun of people that get all excited about 40 times. I think, when you've seen it on the production and when you've seen it on a college field, especially Power 5 team, that I'm not, I'm pretty interested in, but not worried about a 40 time. But these high school kids, like, you don't know the competition. You don't know what exactly was happening with the people they're playing against. And so I think just seeing, is this legit speed that'll translate to, an ACC defense? Can he beat ACC athletes? And so at least says that, yeah, he can. I think if you're dominating in college, you'll have a pretty good chance of dominating the NFL. But if you're dominating, some small high school team in South Carolina, that's the step up is just so much bigger. So I like to see that they just have like the basics for speed. But yeah, 4.4 is definitely nothing to sneeze at, and we like that. So that clip was supposed to be J.J. Jones heading to North Carolina, but the picture got cropped, unfortunately. But he's a big, tall guy. Early enrollee at UNC. He's 6'3", 195 pounds coming in, and pretty smooth for his frame. UNC is going to have two guys on this list, actually. So, and they also have a pretty highly regarded 4-star. So they are restocking their receiver room with a lot of nice looking athletes in Chapel Hill. But so two of them make my list, and JJ Jones, the bigger of the two, the stronger of the two, the more, physical of the two guys on this list. But, he looks like a smooth mover. I mean, look at that, posting that guy up and one-handed grab down the field. You love to see it, but pretty smooth. He does make some nice, cuts and changes directions pretty well for a big man. Accelerates pretty well for his height and size, which I like. He had 35 offers, second most on this list, I believe, including UGA, Georgia Tech, Michigan, Arkansas. So some pretty big names. He was fairly highly sought after. You'll see right there on that last catch, he let the ball come into his body. Now, obviously, he's got nice hands. We saw the one-handed grab before, but I saw too often kind of like that's another great hands grab there. But I definitely see inconsistency with how he brings the ball in, and there was definitely a number of times that he kind of lets that ball come all the way into his body, and gets away with it because it's high school. But that's something to me that I really want to see, catching that ball out in front of you with your hands, and not letting it come into your body, because that's how it can get plucked away by a much better defensive back. But obviously very highly sought after. Um, he has a couple out and ups on this tape where he just like torches guys. So he, makes sharp enough cuts on the out and then going up where he just burns guys completely. And at that size and weight, I love to see a guy who can get downfield. But it remains to be seen if he'll create that much separation at the next level. But he's a big leaper. He can be counted on in the end zone, red zone, I think, to do contested catches if he doesn't, fully get separation. But again, you see multiple times where he's jumping up, catching the ball above his head, and got these big long arms too. So you can put the ball out of reach, and he should be able to come down with it, out of reach of the defender. We can go forward to the next guy, who's going to be Sam Reynolds for South Carolina. Now, this is a guy, basically I think everyone was in a bit of a similar tier, and now I'm going to have a tier 1. So this is like the tier 1. This is a group of 4 guys I really like headed to college. And Sam Reynolds is certainly the least heralded of all of them. He only had 5 offers. The only other FBS, I think, was West Virginia, at least the only other Power 5. So from, kind of nowhere in South Carolina, and is going to go to his hometown college. So that's nice. In the SEC. So at the end of the day, he's going to an SEC school. But he's looking mostly like a slot guy. He's small, 5'8", but clocks in at 170, and you can see that his legs are pretty thick. So he's 5'8", but he does have a nice, strong lower half. Clocked at 10.8 in the 100 meters, kind of around a 4.5 40. So certainly enough speed. That's totally fine, in my opinion. But you'll see here, toughness. You'll see, doing the little things, blocking on the outside. He's really aggressive, even though he's kind of smallish. He has a my ball mentality. He has a yards after catch mentality. I mean, he's always catching the ball, looking to turn upfield and create extra yards. He's shifty, hard to bring down, actually, despite his size. And, just watch right here on this play coming out of the slot. He does play a lot of slot. But I think he shows some nice, like, spatial awareness, kind of, just kind of settling down in the zone, but then catching it and turning upfield. So it's like a little turnaround, catches it, beats a guy to the outside, and then just boom. I mean, acceleration. He just beat 2 guys who were already on the outside, to get to the end zone. He reminds me of, for lack of a better word, kind of like an Elijah Moore. I mean, small, but looks very, very explosive out of the slot once he catches the ball. That first step after the catch is really impressive with this guy. And that's what really attracted me to Elijah Moore, after his sophomore year at Ole Miss, is that first step post catch I really like. He does play some defense, and even his defensive clips really show a guy who seems to be in control of his body and understand the kind of where he is at on the field and the things that he needs to do to make a play. I kind of want to, go coach speak on you and just say he's a ball player, and that's just kind of what he seems like. There's a seam route you're not going to catch. I mean, he has legitimate speed. I mean, SEC speed, being clocked at a full-on 4.5 as a high school player. Here he takes a little toss out of the backfield, seems really versatile. I honestly think he's a playmaker and someone that South Carolina will probably utilize fairly early on. They're losing Shi Smith. They don't have a lot of other, game-breaking type guys, and I think Sam Reynolds actually can be a bit of a game breaker right away for him. I think he's an early enrollee. Yes, he is. And so he's going to be working with the team. He also was recorded on 247 with a 38-inch vert. The average NFL combine vert for a wide receiver is 35. So he is explosive. has a legitimate vert, a legitimate 40 time. His athleticism is real. This is a little short, kind of out route, catching a touchdown. He just seems kind of like, one of the more versatile guys I saw. And so I elevated him into my tier 1 of 3-star receivers, headed to an SEC school. And if he pops, he's going to be, everyone's going to forget about the 3 stars, and he's going to be, really impressive. His weight, is probably always going to hold him back a little bit from being like a true, monster receiver. But I think he can be really productive in college, and maybe, have an NFL future out of the slot. Bryce Stevens headed to Arkansas. And if you've been watching these videos, Arkansas also had one of my favorite athletes turned running back in the whole class. And now they have my number 3-star receiver in Bryce Stevens. So this is someone I really impressed when I turned it on. Their running back, AJ Green, is also from Oklahoma City. So from Oklahoma. I think he's from Tulsa, but they did a real nice job dipping and pulling some very interesting prospects out of the state of Oklahoma. And his tape is really, really nice. This first play is fantastic. Maintaining balance. He jukes a guy, he stiff arms a guy, and then it's off to the races. He is 6 feet, 170 pounds. He had 24 offers, including Arizona State, Iowa State, and Michigan, among others. He has a verified 10.9 in the 100 meters. So, right around that 4.5-ish speed, which is just fine. It's not that I want you to be super low. I just don't want you to be like 4.8 or above, in high school. I know that there have been high school guys who are 4.8 and, shaved off time and got better. But, I think if you're 4.7 or so in high school, that's more than fine. So this is perfect speed here. As a high school player, he just shows a really aggressive approach to catching the ball. Definitely the classic my ball mentality type guy. And I know that some people like Marcus Allen, who's headed to Wisconsin, and I actually DM'd Boz and said, "Hey, I've got Marcus Allen with verified long speed for you," and that I think is kind of Bryce Stevens. He's super aggressive. When he catches the ball, he's going to get yards after the catch. He's going to break some tackles. He's going to be, kind of like a dog, trying to get him down. He does not go down easy. Look at this kick return. I mean, he's already broken 2 or 3 tackles, and now he's just continuing to guys are slipping off of him. And this is kind of his thing. This is what he does, play after play, but he also can win downfield. He also can win by skying up over a guy as well. So, Look at that. Again, juke, stiff arm, all that sort of thing. So you really like that. Pardon my dog here. So Bryce Stevens, I'm really impressed. Shh. Pardon me. So that's a little defensive thing there. Pick 6 for Bryce. Really like what he's bringing to the table. I'll let you watch this out. All right. We can go forward. We're going to go to my number 3-star receiver. We can never get to the next break here. Wow, these highlights are really long for Bryce Stevens. That's how good he is. But I've run out of things to say. This has got to be a lot of fun for all you folks. Oh, yeah. This is Kobe Pacehour, headed to UNC. So this is the other UNC player I really like. And yeah, this is where he is. So he's actually the number 2 3-star receiver for me. Headed to UNC, and he ranked lower than J.J. Jones, who we looked at before, but he looks a little more technically refined than J.J. Jones. He's got some punt returns on here, really showing some agility and short area quickness to get out of the tackles and things like that. And he's still a pretty big guy, 6'1", 175 pounds, I think. And that's just fine as a freshman. These guys are going to put on 10, 15 pounds and get up to the 190, 195 range. And 18 offers, including UGA, Kentucky and Missouri. So a bunch of SEC teams wanted him. I think he's got long speed. He's a hands catcher. His 100-meter time wasn't super impressive with 12 seconds, but it's not a total rule out for me if the tape looks pretty good. Because you never know, if these guys took track very seriously or not. But he looks like he's got enough speed for me. And what I really like is just seems to be, kind of a really technical route runner, and looks like pretty good off that first step off the line. He just looks like a quality receiver. I mean, that's the best thing I can say. Sometimes these guys were looking for 3 stars and who can come in and contribute, and you want a guy who just looks good at everything, even if they're not like fully elite, at any one thing. And I think that's kind of this Kobe Pacehour. That's what we're looking at with him. But there's one I really like to show you. I think it's like the last one. It's a really nice out route that kind of seals the deal for me with him, because it just shows that he can run a sharp outbreaking route, and that's hard to do in high school. You don't see these guys do a very sharp 90-degree. Well, maybe that wasn't it, but he does have one on tape. Maybe it was a different highlight film that I ended up doing, but I like to see that with these guys who can run a very sharp route. And so now we get to my number 1 3-star receiver. He's also the highest ranked 3-star on to 24/7. So, kind of went a little chalky here, but I really like kind of in the, he's like a better Kobe Pacehour, because he's doesn't necessarily have any one incredible trait, but he just looks like a quality receiver. I will say that one of the nicer things about him, he looks pretty sudden. That's usually a term I use for running backs, but he looks like he can make these little, juke, stutter step, jab steps during his route and on the line to create some separations in short area. Shows enough long speed, and his name is Michael Jackson, which is pretty awesome. I think he technically goes by Michael Jackson the third, to it not be confused. He's got nice size, 6 feet, 198 pounds. So, already tall enough for anything you'd want, and pushing 200 pounds as a freshman coming in. He's an early enrollee to Southern Cal, who did just lose 2 big-time receivers. In ARSB and not Brew McCoy, Tyler Vaughns. Brew McCoy hasn't done much. Gary Jennings is there, but he hasn't, didn't do much last year, and I'm not sure what kind of a player he really is. The only really returning receiver is Drake London. I think there's room, if Michael Jackson is as good as he kind of looks like, I think there's room for him to get some run early. He's a tough guy. He definitely does, block on the outside. But look here, like little 10-yard corner to the corner pylon back there. He does a lot of different routes. He'll do this little like sit in the zone and then make people miss after the catch, which I really like. He just shows a lot of knack, honestly, for the position. He's not just either blazing people or he's not just posting people up, but he's actually, winning with savvy, winning with enough speed and enough quickness, twitchiness is what I see, and I really like that for him. So here we go on a punt return. Some editing mistakes here, but that's okay. The show must go on. But yeah, so Michael Jackson, good size, good speed, twitchiness, and I think there was some other things over here that I definitely wanted to get here. In the zone here, and then guy coming in to take his head off, and he makes him miss, and he gets some extra yards there. A long run here, just consistently making guys miss, getting extra yards. Really like to see that. This is a little like drag slant on the goal line. There's a pick play, but he did, catch it and convert it to a touchdown. This is a seam route here and just, totally gone. Never really got checked, though, at the line or anything like that. This is out of the slot and, got some separation there, but the coverage there was pretty ugly. I don't think that corner really attempted to guard him very much. This is a good block. Looks like a pancake block. That's going to win your hearts of your teammates. This is a little sit in the zone. And he does this a lot where he does these little like comeback curls. And then that's our mock draft update. This was recorded on my phone. I guess I didn't get rid of some of these pop-ups. A little sloppy tonight for Why Wait Till Sunday, but hopefully you're still enjoying seeing these players. And if you're listening, then, you don't have to see all this mess here. But so, yeah, Michael Jackson, I think we're going to come to the end here. I'm going to let you watch it. That was a nice route there. I really liked that. So that's a deep out and maintains balance. And he cut it off, almost actually less than 90-degree angle. So that's good. I've definitely heard, people that have played football at higher levels say that's a nice thing to do when you're coming in or out to kind of not even do 90 degrees, but maybe a little shorter so that you're kind of coming back to the ball a little bit. That makes it really hard for a defender to jump the route and, and pick it or break it up when you kind of have even tighter angle than 90 degrees on those breaking routes. So I think he can do it. I think he can do this at the next level too. And I really like what I saw from him. This is, again, he goes in the zone. Well, someone totally fell down. Look at that. Punt return, getting to the end here. And nothing too impressive there. Let's see. What's the last play? Okay. So I guess that's it for Michael Jackson. So to review, we're going to get out of the screen sharing. To review, we've got Michael Jackson headed to Southern Cal as my number 1. Kobe Pacehour headed to UNC as my number 2. Bryce Stevens headed to Arkansas as my number 3. Sam Reynolds headed to South Carolina as my number 4. 3-star receiver. And I think that's the tier that I think has the most potential. Then you've got J.J. Jones at UNC, Julian Gray going to NC State, J.J. Henry going to Ole Miss, Joshua Burrell going to FSU, Keon Coleman going to Michigan State. And that's kind of a big chunk of guys I think are, nice and just maybe a drop below what I see in the top tier. And then we've got Davis Mallinger as, kind of his own guy at the end here, headed to West Virginia. He was way down the list, but, kind of wanted to take a closer look when I saw his size and his 100-meter time, and then was actually, fairly impressed with the tape, and he seemed more than just a straight line runner. He showed some shiftiness and some ability to create after the catch, in addition to some acrobatic catches. And then we have the bonus 11th guy, Monray Baldwin. He's a watch list guy, even in a deep C2C. I think we're talking about a guy that, just wait till week 1, week 2, see if he's getting on the field. This isn't a guy you have to draft. I mean, you certainly can in like the last round, but no one, I'm the only guy talking about him. I can guarantee you that. But you saw the tape. He looked really good to me. So, judge for yourself. That's why I like to do this with the tape, in addition to what I saw. And leave a comment, tweet at me, visit campusdecanted.com. I'm going to put this in article form in the next week or so. So, you'll have that for quick reference. If you don't want to watch the video or listen to the podcast again, you can just go hit up that article and comment there too. Tell me what you think. I want to know, are you seeing what I'm seeing with these guys? Digging real deep here. But that's what we need to do in Campus to Canton leagues on that campus side. Thank you so much for putting up with some of the technical difficulties and a little of my yawns. I promise I will start doing these earlier in the evening. But for now, that is the latest Why Wait Till Sunday. Now I'm a member of campus2canton.com, so go check that out too. And we will see you guys next time.